Hey guys, this is Andy with Get Your Wellies. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the tomatoes that we planted here about a month ago and see how they're coming along, do a couple of maintenance things on them. But first of all, why don't you get your wellies? Meet me in the garden. So first of all, let's just take a look at the plants. These were planted back on December the 15th, so it's been right at a month since they went into the aerogarden. I really do want to encourage you guys, you don't have to have an aerogarden to grow these microtom tomatoes. They actually could be grown in pots indoors. Obviously the aerogarden has a light on it, but you could do them in pots and have a supplemental light, or if you're fortunate enough to have a really nice sunny south facing window, then you could actually get enough light from there to grow these little tomatoes. Now they are small, so to give you an idea how big this plant is, here's my hand. I don't have just particularly huge hands for a guy, but obviously this tomato is fairly small. Let me show you the one that's growing next to it right here. This one's actually a little bit bigger, and as you can see over here, it has some flowers that are clearly, you can see the petals here, but there's also some very small buds. I'm going to try and zoom in on these for you and let you see just how many clusters of these little flowers are actually here. So here, lower down on the plant, you also see a lot of flower buds in here. Again, this plant is very small, but there's a lot going on with it. I see a lot of flower buds here, so I'm looking forward to a pretty good harvest. The other plant is just a little bit behind this one, but it's coming along too. So as you can see on this shot, that we have some clusters of flowers. They are so tiny right now, but these actually produce anywhere from kind of a regular size cherry tomato. Some of them are a little smaller. I would expect to get at least 16 to 24 off of this plant. And let me just show you another angle on it. This is the plant that's slightly smaller, but even on this one you can see that there are some flower buds coming out. So quite a bit going on. Now in the aerogarden, we don't have to worry too much about any kind of pruning or anything like that. We're not going to get diseased leaves really in here because there's no exposure to soil, there's no exposure to pests or anything like that. So the main things we do have to consider though in any kind of indoor garden is that when you are relying on wind or insects to do your pollination for you, then you know you need to do something about that in the indoor setting to where you can make sure that pollination occurs very well. So I have kind of a novelty thing that I use for this. I'm going to show it to you, but honestly you can use something a little less expensive than this. This one's terribly expensive, but let me show you this real quick. So this little thing here that looks like a bee, it's kind of a novelty garden tool, but actually it functions to help pollinate. So if I'll press the button on it here, you can hear it, and you may be able to see there the top of that is vibrating. So you could actually replace this with just an electric toothbrush. Just get a cheap electric toothbrush from the dollar store or somewhere, and you can achieve the same thing. Now out in the garden, when I'm working with my tomato plants, you know, the wind and insects tend to do most of the work for us out there, but I will go by my tomato plants and I'll just take my 2 fingers and just kind of, you know, tap them together kind of like this against the stalk, and shake the plant a little bit just to help with that process of pollination. Everything that tomatoes need to pollinate themselves is right there in those flowers, so they don't have to literally go from one plant to another. In fact, cross-pollination would occur if that happened between 2 different types of tomatoes, but just most of the time a breeze or an insect coming and buzzing around there's going to be enough to pollinate the plants. But indoors there is a possibility that that won't happen, so it's best to kind of use some kind of agitation to pollinate the plants. So I use this little bee pollinator that they call it. It's kind of cute, but I'm going to show you how I use that on the flower that's open over here. I'm going to zoom in on that. Sometimes you'll actually see a little puff of pollen when you do it. So let's see what happens when we do that. So I'm just going to come in here to the stem and give it a little buzz there. And this is really all you have to do to pollinate the plant. It's as easy as that. So on the other plant I don't really see anything open yet, so but each day I just keep this over by the plants indoors, and I'll go in there and give them a little buzz a couple times a day. So that's it for that. Now I noticed something else when I came over here, so let me show you this. So here at the base of the aerogarden right here, you can see this leaf symbol, maybe you can see that, is flashing down here at the bottom, and that is a 2-weekly timer that tells me it's time to add some more nutrients, some more liquid feed to this aerogarden. Now if you're growing your plants in pots, you'll just want to start off with a good supply of fertilizer in your soil. Obviously it'll last for several weeks. In the aerogarden we have to add some every 2 weeks, so it's telling me to do that, so I'm gonna get some of the feed, liquid feed ready, and add that to the aerogarden. And I think I showed this to you the last time, what I like to use for feed. I have a large container, and then I have a smaller container of the liquid plant food. I've got the sun coming in right now through the window, which is very, very welcome today, but it's messing up my photography just a little bit. So, but this is the aerogarden liquid plant food. So I actually have a big container of this too, so I'm going to get some ready. It's very easy. Aerogarden maintenance is incredibly easy, in fact. So the way that works is, for each pod that you have, you put a certain amount in. So actually for 2 to 3 pods it's 4 mils every 2 weeks. So I'm going to draw up 4 mils in a little syringe that I keep handy for doing this. This one is a 3 mil syringe, so we'll just do 2 2s in here, and let me get that ready. So to add the feed, we're going to take the cover off right here, and I'm just going to drop 2 mils in there. Let me grab another 2 mils. And here we go with that. Now once you put the feed in here, you can hit the little light at the bottom down here, and you'll notice it will go, hold my finger on it, it'll go back to green instead of red and stay lit. So then I know that it's doing what it's supposed to. I also hear, I don't know if you can really hear this, but you can sort of see that the water's agitating in there. The way this one works, I'm going to show you on one of these. There's little leaves out of there. So if I take one of the covers off, see if I can get my thumbnail under it, nail under it. There we go. So on this one, oops. So right here you can see there's like a little, almost looks like a little mini waterfall in there. Let's see, there we go. So it's probably just a little bit out of focus, but I'm a little bit close to it. But you can see how that water's coming out and it circulates it. That actually, it does it when you first put the feed in and you first turn it back on after feeding the plants, and then it also does it every 30 minutes anyway to circulate that around. So it's very easy. Just have to feed the plants. Obviously these are tomatoes. The only thing you have to do is that pollination part. Now the other thing people may ask is, do you have to prune these? Well, these are actually a determinate variety of tomato, so ideally you don't. In the garden I would probably just prune the very bottom leaves that would be exposed to soil, potentially soil splash. But here in the house there should not be a need to remove any leaves unless some of the lower leaves potentially could die off, just lack of light and things like that. So like this one's kind of hanging lower down, but that's really all you have to worry about with those. We should start seeing some fruit start to develop probably within the next couple of weeks here. So we'll come back and take another look at these, but I just wanted to show you how neat these tomatoes are. It's really the other thing that I think is really cool when you're growing things inside, and especially when you normally grow them outside and then you bring them in to do them, you start really noticing so much more detail. The textures of the leaves, you really get to see in the different types of formations of these stems and the flowers. I just feel like you really gain a lot from doing this inside, and especially in the winter time, because the garden's just kind of not doing a whole lot. So the idea of growing tomatoes in the winter time to me is a big positive for my gardening heart. I did also tell you guys that I would probably put basil in this smaller aerogarden. This version is called the Sprout, and the basil is Genovese basil. I actually trimmed these up a little bit today to try and help them to, you know, bush out a little bit. This one's different. It has a pump that runs continuously. It's like a diffuser type of thing, almost a bit like in an aquarium. So you have this, you can see the bubbles kind of agitating there in the system, and that's what circulates the feed in this one. And again, it tells you when it needs to be fed. It has a light on the bottom of it too. It just glows red, and then you feed and you hold down the one button and it goes out. So that's super easy to. Fresh basil is really nice in the winter time too. So anyway, guys, I thank you for joining me today. I hope you found that interesting, and if you are interested in those micro toms, I bought those at Baker Creek. I showed those on a previous video, the packaging, but if you go to rareseeds.com, that's where Baker Creek sells their seeds, and these are called micro toms. There are some other ones that are also small. These are actually the smallest, and right now they're about 5 inches tall on the bigger plant and about 4 inches tall on the smaller one. So that kind of gives you an idea. These will grow a little bit more, but honestly, not much. They're pretty much where they're going to be. So anyway, guys, well, thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy the video, then please give me a thumbs up. That really helps the algorithm on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, but would like to see more of what we're doing here at Get Your Wellies, then go ahead and subscribe too. That would be great. Until then, I hope you have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye now.